learning in the book of Mishlei, chapter 28. Proverbs chapter 28, we are at verse 11. So King Solomon shares some of his wisdom today, and it's really some beautiful and inspiring ideas. So King Solomon says in chapter 28, verse 11, "Chacham ish ashir." A rich person thinks that he's wise. A rich person usually sees himself as someone who earned his money and got it due to his wisdom, even though often it may be an inheritance, it may be due to luck, but often a rich person, and even people who observe the rich person, think that it is due to some kind of wisdom that the rich person has. That's what the rich person thinks. However, Dad Mevin Yachkerenu, a smart poor person sometimes outdoes them in their wisdom. And the rabbis say this is also talking about in scholarship. Sometimes you have a professor who thinks he's very, very smart, but often the student ends up being smarter than the teacher. So that's a lesson. Sometimes people who are in a position of wealth or even a position of teaching think that they have the ultimate wisdom, but actually it's the student that's following them that is the smarter one. Verse 12, King Solomon says, when the righteous person is happy, when the righteous person is doing well, then that brings glory to everyone. However, on the other hand, when the wicked prosper, that's when everyone suffers. When it's good for the righteous, it's good for everyone. And when it's good for the wicked, it's bad for everyone. And now we come to a very, very beautiful verse. A person who tries to cover up their sins, their wrongdoings, they will ultimately not succeed. The person who will try and cover their sins up will not succeed. And but a person who admits that they did wrong, a person who admits that they made a mistake, they will be, people will forgive them. So often it's much better to admit a wrongdoing than to deny it and then hope that people will sort of let it go. Next is verse 14. Ashrei adam mefached tamid. Usually we say that fear is not a good thing, but in some cases it is a good thing. Ashrei adam mefached tamid. It's praiseworthy is the person who's always concerned. Obviously, excessive concern is not good, but here we're talking about fear in the sense of worrying, making sure your bills are paid, making sure you went to your yearly checkup with the doctor. All these different things are things that you should make sure you do. We have a guest here, a guest of honor. So next is Ashrei Adam Mefached Tamid. Praiseworthy is the person who's always concerned. And the person who makes his heart hard will ultimately stumble in something bad. Next is Ari Noem v'Dov Shokek. Like a groaning lion and like a bear that's chasing someone, Moshel Rasha al Amdal is a wicked ruler on a poor nation. Why? Just like the groaning lion is always looking for more, is always looking for more to take. So too, the wicked ruler is always looking to tax and make life more difficult for the people. Next is verse 16. Nagid chasar tevunot sometimes the person who is very wealthy is not because they're very wise, and someone who hates greed, someone who doesn't like a lot of money, that person is going to live very long days. Next is Adam Ashuk Bedam Nefesh Adbor Yanus Alit Mechubo. Someone who is guilty of killing someone who's guilty of bloodshed, someone who's responsible for the death of others, Adbor Yanus Alit Mechubo. He can run all the way to the depths of the pit, and no one will have mercy for him. If someone actually killed someone, no one is going to have mercy for them, even as they escape. However, on the other hand, someone who walks innocently, someone who walks in wholesomeness, that person is going to be saved. And someone who stumbles into to crooked ways is going to fall at one big fall. Next is another lesson about the importance of hard work. Oved admato yisba lechem. Someone who works hard, works his land, that person is going to have plenty of food to eat. However, someone who's constantly chasing and trying to strike sort of lucky deals in a way that's not responsible is going to be hungry. Next, ish emunot rav brachot. A man of faith is a man filled with blessings. Someone who has faith in others, someone who has faith in God is going to also get blessings. But someone who rushes to become rich is not necessarily going to be the one who's very, very popular. Next, it's not good to discriminate, to favor one person over the other. That's not a good thing. And sometimes people are going to, people who pervert justice are going to end up being hungry. If someone perverts justice, if someone tilts justice in favor of one over the other, then that person is going to often reach poverty and hunger. Next, nivhal lahon ish ra'ain, someone who is looking always to be greedy is often someone who's also stingy. The same person who's always chasing money is not going to be very charitable with their money. But he does not know that ultimately he will lose out and not have money. Next is talking about constructive criticism. King Solomon is talking about constructive criticism. Mochiach adam acharai chen nimtza. Someone who gives constructive criticism that leads people to a good path are going to find grace much more than those who are filled with flattery. Sometimes if a person is straightforward and says actually what people should change, someone gives you constructive criticism, that person may end off in a better position than someone who just gives shallow and superficial flattery. Next is a very sad but true verse. Gozel aviv ve'imo ve'omer en pesha, someone who robs their own mother and father and says, oh, it's okay, it's just my father and my mother and I can do it. That same person, that is the same as if he would have gone to their house and just broken it and vandalized it. Next, rechav nefesh yegarem madon. Someone who is rechav nefesh, meaning they're always desiring luxury and honor, and they're always looking for things that are beyond their reach. That person is going to cause conflict because they're going to go ultimately for things that are not theirs. Someone who trusts God is going to get all their needs. Next, we're at chapter 28, verse 26, the book of Proverbs. Someone who is too hard of heart and always trusts himself is foolish and overlooking things. Someone who goes with wisdom is going to get out of things. Verse 27, someone who gives the poor is going to see no lack. And someone who looks away from the needy is going to be filled with problems. Next is verse 28. When the wicked rise, the decent people often disappear. You don't see them. Yet, when the wicked are no longer in power, then the righteous are going to be multiplied. So that is the end of chapter 28. And I thank you for joining not only me, but us. And everyone should have a good week, a happy week. And I thank you for participating and for joining. Shavua Tov U'Mevorach. Thank you so much for joining. Shavua Tov U'Mevorach to everyone. Thank you. And only good things.